The Government of Nagaland has introduced the Frontier Nagaland Territorial Authority Bill 2026. The bill is signed by the Deputy Chief Minister, Yanthungo Patton, as Minister in Charge. It follows the agreement signed on February 5th, 2026, which promised a new administrative future for Eastern Nagaland. But this is different, because an agreement creates expectation. A bill creates structure, and structure reveals how power actually works. So the question is no longer what FNTA promises. The question is, what does this bill actually create? And more importantly, who controls it? Welcome to the Grassroots Lens, where we do not just follow announcements, we follow how power actually works. In the previous videos, we looked at the FNTA agreement, why it took decades, what it promised. But now we move from promise to design, because this bill is not about intention, it is about implementation. From agreement to law. On February 5th, 2026, a tripartite agreement created FNTA. It was presented as a solution. But agreements are flexible. They depend on interpretation. A bill is different. A bill defines who decides, who controls, and who answers. And here is the first important fact. This is still a bill, not yet a fully operational law. It will come into force only when notified by the state government. So what we are looking at is not implementation, but design. The structure of FNTA, the bill creates a formal authority, not symbolic, institutional. FNTA will have 62 members, 40 elected, 22 nominated. Existing MLAs from the region become part of the system. At the top, an executive council, led by a chief executive member with cabinet rank. On paper, this looks like power. Representation is wide, structure is detailed, but structure alone does not decide control, where power actually lies. Look closely at how the system is built. The governor nominates members. The state government posts officers, controls staffing, and frames rules. The Secretariat exists, but officers come from the state system. This means something important. FNTA operates within an existing chain of control. So the question is not, does FNTA exist? It does. The real question is how independent it is in practice. Because administration is not about buildings. It is about who signs the file. Autonomy and control. The bill gives FNTA powers over multiple subjects. Development planning, implementation, regulation. On paper, this is decentralization. But look deeper. If rules are framed by the state, if officers are controlled by the state, if approvals still move upward, then autonomy becomes conditional, not absolute. This is not separation. This is calibrated autonomy. Power is given, but within limits. The suspension clause. Now comes the most important part. The bill allows the governor to suspend FNTA. An administrator can take over for up to 6 months. Think about what that means. An institution designed for decentralization can be re-centralized legally, so autonomy exists, but it is reversible. The promise of power. The bill transfers multiple subjects to FNTA: land, agriculture, roads, trade, local taxation. This is functional power. It allows planning to reflect local realities. But power on paper depends on execution, because delegation is not the same as control. Money. Funds will be allocated to FNTA, shared between the state and the authority, audited, structured. But funding raises a simple question. Who controls the timing? Because in governance, delay is control. If funds arrive late, power weakens. If funds arrive on time, authority strengthens. Budget is not power. Liquidity is. The transition. Before full elections, an interim council will operate. Members are nominated. This is how the system begins, not through elections, but through transition. And transition shapes outcomes. The larger question, FNTA does not create a new state. It does not redraw boundaries. It does not change the Constitution. What it does is redistribute power within the state, carefully, deliberately. But redistribution is not the same as transfer, and that difference will decide everything. Closing, FNTA matters, but not because it was announced, because it has been designed. And design reveals intent. This bill shows a system trying to balance autonomy and control. Whether that balance works will not be decided today. It will be decided in how files move, how funds flow, and how power is exercised. Because institutions do not fail in theory, they fail or succeed in practice. This is the grassroots lens. We do not just follow agreements, we follow what they become.